Hey everyone, you're watching KTAL News Now. I'm your host Anthony Mocklin, and today is Tuesday, which means it is Tech Tuesday on our daily show, KTAL News Now, which airs every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. We try to have a different theme for each day, and since today is Tuesday, we focus on tech-related news and upcoming projects related to technology and just everyday items. And today's show is pretty packed. We have a lot to talk about. One of the first things that we have is that Chuck E. Cheese is ditching their ball pits and they are focusing on an adult-centered arcade as opposed to a kiddie sort of play area. They are doing this in response to their losing revenue in the past few years, especially with COVID. They took a big hit there, so they're trying to have a different approach to how they operate their businesses now. And accessibility is becoming more of a common everyday life. Is becoming more common in everyday life, but it also is being extended to the fun things in life, and EA Sports and other video game companies are making sure that people have access to their games from all backgrounds and all disabilities, and they want them to enjoy that to the fullest instead of being on the sidelines. Angry Birds is also back with a brand new game, and we'll also be talking about how many games have been implemented into that franchise, because it is quite a lot. They have been around for a while. They've ventured into movies and several games. It's been a very long-standing franchise since the earliest iPhones. That was one of their hit games, so we'll definitely be diving into that. But the first topic, I don't know about you, but whenever I was in middle school, I had a huge interest in marine biology, taking a bunch of science classes in school and learning about the ocean, despite the fact that 80% of it is essentially undiscovered. And scientists from Stanford are working to change that with the Ocean 1K robotic model, which is a remote-controlled bot that researchers from Stanford have built to help with deep-sea exploration. It can even transmit human touch through the appendages that it has on the front of its body. It's a very human-like object in the front. And the Ocean 1K is named because it can reach a depth of up to 1,000 meters or 3,300 feet. And their main objective is to recover treasure from shipwrecks without breaking any of the items. They conducted a deep-sea exploration in 2022 below the Mediterranean, where they found a bunch of different sunken crafts, including a World War II submarine and a Roman shipwreck that dates all the way back to 200 AD, which is pretty incredible. That dive maxed out at 2,800 feet, and at the seafloor, it left a commemorative plaque on the seafloor to say that it was there and that the future of robotic sea exploration is very bright. That was something that was super interesting to me. They said it could help oceans become like space observatories where people don't actually have to be there to observe things. They can record footage of the ocean and the waters around them to get a better idea of what is exactly down there, being the fact that at depths that deep, almost no sunlight gets there. The pressure is immense. It's about 100 times more pressure than at the surface level of water. So it's to combat putting a human there in these unsafe and very dangerous conditions. And if you have this robot there, it can be immense in terms of research and not, like I said, not putting people in harm's way. And one of the most interesting things that I mentioned earlier was the fact that it can have this human touch element where it uses this haptic software in the joysticks that they use to where that whenever the robot grabs something from the wreckages or the ships that they explore, it actually gives a haptic feedback to where the controller that the researcher is using actually feels that whatever it's grabbing. So that was really interesting to me. They use a very advanced joystick technology, but joysticks were not always this advanced. And if you grew up and you're, I guess I would be a millennial, and you went to a Chuck E. Cheese in your life as a kid, or any sort of arcade, what I mentioned earlier with Chuck E. Cheese is that they're getting away from their typical birthday party, ball pit play area, and they are making a full-fledged, adult-oriented arcade. Now, this is not just for adults, it's for all ages, but it's specifically targeted towards adults and long life fans. So if you grew up going to Chuck E. Cheese as a kid, or you just want that exciting thrill of being in an arcade or winning a game, then this is definitely something for you. It's a spin-off of their flagship Chuck E. Cheese locations, so it's not a sit down and eat restaurant and then go play thing. It's specifically an arcade only. It is primarily taking over abandoned shopping mall arcades that they are revamping into this Chuck's Arcade to try to bring business back and get people playing and just being social in the community. And like I said, there's no food except for the Kansas City location, where they actually have a full Chuck E. Cheese menu and serve beer and wine at their location. But that is the only one currently that does that. Including that one, there are 10 locations total at the moment, but they have plans to expand with another location opening in August. There are also no animatronics or any members of the original animatronic band from the old Chuck E. Cheese's, but there is a statue of a non-moving animatronic outside of each Chuck's Arcade location to sort of have a callback to the past rather than having this full-fledged animatronic band that was pretty creepy in the old days. I can understand why they wanted to get away from that, especially with kids. It was pretty nightmare-inducing for some, and I know people have a deep fear of that now as a result of that. But all in all, they're mainly just trying to cater to nostalgia. And if you also grew up in that time period, you'll know that Angry Birds was a huge thing at the time with the introduction of iPhones and iPads and everything of that nature. They announced their new game, Angry Birds Bounce. And, I mean, this has got to be about the 200th game in the series. It surely feels that way. Like, there's no way it can be that many. I was curious, so I ended up Googling it, and I was wrong, guys. Only 141 games have been in the Angry Birds series since 2009. So I was off by a few, but it is insane just how many games have been in this franchise and how long it has been around. The new game, Angry Birds Bounce, is available exclusively on Apple Arcade, which does require a $7 a month subscription. But they do offer a 7-day trial at the moment for free, and you also get 3 months free with any purchase of a new iPhone or iPad. And if you recently purchased an iPhone or iPad, you might have to check your eligibility on that, because you could have an offer waiting for you just ready to claim, and then you can have full access to their library of hundreds of games that are all ad-free. They have no microtransactions, unlike most games you get ads for today, just scrolling your feed on social media or just on an internet page. And those can be pretty annoying because while they are free, after each level there's usually a 30-second unskippable ad that is just a slog to sit through. And it can be pretty annoying, so Apple Arcade games essentially cut all of that out since you're already paying for a subscription to their service. They want to focus on the games and not have that hinder any of your experience, which is really nice. The game itself is a brick breaker model of a game, like the classic games where you have to bounce the ball off the platform and move it and keep it up. But it also has some strategy elements where, according to the game's page and description, you can mix the type of birds you can have in your lineup, essentially, or flock, and each one comes with a specific set of skills that you can mix and match and combine to have the best damage output in terms of breaking those bricks, which pose as the pigs in the series. The actual thing that you're shooting from is the classic slingshot from the original Angry Birds game, and you're essentially just launching the bird up at the pigs to break them and then get through each level. They also stated that there are roguelite elements, which, if you don't know what a roguelite is, it is a game where you can sort of start everything over, but after each run, you can get a power-up, which is present in this game. After each level, you gain this power-up that you permanently get to keep to help you progress through the rest of the game as it gets harder. The problem with this is that people have reported that there is a pretty big difficulty spike as you get to the later levels, which makes people wonder if this game was originally made to be pay to win with microtransactions that you would spend in real life money to get in-game currency or power-ups to help you get any sort of boost or level ups with each of the levels, a la Candy Crush. I know that was a huge thing as well in the day. It was huge with me. I think I'm on like level 2,000 something at this point, but I never did spend any real money on the game. But I know that is a huge revenue drive for that game and that type of game model, because that's where a lot of, especially with the Facebook collaboration, you can sort of seamlessly and willingly just spend your money and get any sort of power-ups that help you through the levels. You can ask your Facebook friends for help and they can send you stuff. So it's a pretty intuitive system in terms of a revenue model, but it's not exactly consumer friendly if you don't spend any money on the game in any way. But the Angry Birds franchise is still super massive. They've already released 2 movies, and the third one is slated to come out in 2027. The returning cast includes Jason Sudeikis and Danny McBride, but there's also some new faces, including Emma Myers, who starred in Wednesday and the Minecraft movie. You have Keke Palmer and comedian Tim Robinson joining the cast as well, and Lily James, who was in one of my personal favorite movies, Baby Driver. I absolutely adore that movie. I rewatch it all the time. It's just a classic, feel-good kind of heart-pumping movie. And the final new cast member is Marcelo Hernandez, who plays the popular character Domingo on Saturday Night Live. I know that was really exciting whenever all the new people got announced. Even though I'm personally not I wouldn't call myself an Angry Birds fan, I know that it is still a huge thing, especially in older adults who grew up with those games on their iPhones. And if you grew up as a kid playing video games like myself, not every kid had that opportunity, which points me to my next topic of the new accessibility of today's video games through the Accessible Games Initiative, which was announced at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco about a couple months ago. Representatives from EA, Electronic Arts, Google, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Ubisoft were all there in partnership with that to make games more accessible to those with disabilities or mental inhibitors. There are websites such as caniplaythat.com, which is essentially a go-to place to look up any game to see if they have that accessibility option for you. And it is made by disabled video game players for disabled video game players that want to have access to that fun and join in on, the popular games. Game sites have also started to include tags with an accessibility feature. If they include that, you can sort it on the store pages of Steam or the Microsoft Store or PlayStation Store, and you can sort it by the accessibility tag to view all of the games that are included with accessibility features. And there have been controllers as well as game pads that have been created and are still in development that are making it more accessible to gamers that have those disabilities that can't, if they have limited movement. These controllers respond to voice control as well as eye tracking in games just by looking at the screen. So it's really awesome to see that games are becoming more accessible and inclusive to those who might not have the ability to hold a controller and use all of their movements in their thumbs and other fingers. Like, it's really, really awesome to hear that. ablegamers.org has a lot of information on not only which games have these accessibility features, but also which equipment you can get. And all of this equipment is pretty customizable. It caters to essentially every individual's needs, and you can customize it as you see fit to help you just enjoy the games and have that experience. And you can check out these controllers as well as similar equipment during Amazon's Prime Day, which is no longer just a day for some reason. It actually lasts starting today until July 11th. And this is, for some reason, a pretty common theme now. I know that Black Friday is no longer just a day either. It seems that Black Friday deals pretty much just start as soon as November does now, and they last all month long, all the deals that you can get. But on Amazon Prime Day, it's a smaller scope, at least, than Black Friday, but you can get thousands of deals on different tech like TVs, headphones, smartwatches, or clothing like shoes, shirts, anything that you need. And if you're a Prime member like myself, you know that it comes with a lot of different benefits, whether it's free 2-day shipping or in some cases 1-day shipping. But other perks also include early access to films. I did not know that this was a thing until the most recent announcement of their early access screenings of DC's new Superman movie, which is supposed to release this Thursday, or this Friday actually, July 11th. But if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can get early access screening of it today, Tuesday, July 8th. And that is exactly what I'm doing. I have a screening today at 7 p.m., and I am super excited for this one. This is DC's new attempt at launching their own connected universe, and they actually had the premiere of this movie in Los Angeles last night, where initial social media reactions lifted at 11 p.m. Central Time, and the first few reactions are pretty positive, but at the same time, I take those with a grain of salt considering the fact that these fans were invited to the premiere, and if they want to keep having this early access and keep getting invited to these premieres, you might not say a whole lot of bad about the movie. You might want to, keep things positive. But the official full-fledged review embargo releases today, actually, at 2 p.m. Central. So that'll be where the real tell is in terms of if the movie is good or not. But I don't really have any doubts that it will be, considering James Gunn is directing it. He's one of the best directors in terms of comic book movies right now. He has so many acclaimed movies, including the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy and the rebooted Suicide Squad movie. And as far as television goes, Peacemaker Season 1 was a smash hit. He took essentially this unknown character, and the same way with Guardians of the Galaxy. He took these unknown characters and made them household names, essentially. Peacemaker was this very obscure character in the comics that he almost single-handedly helped raise to prominence. Since then, John Cena's Peacemaker has been in several different pop culture adaptations, video games, everything of that nature. He's become a super popular character, so I trust his vision, and I trust that he will do another great job with Superman, which I'm personally so excited for. As a huge DC fan, it's been pretty rough the last few years with all of the reboots and start and stop and what is canon and what is not. It's been pretty bumpy ride, but this movie is the official launch of the new DCU, which is the DC universe or cinematic universe that they are trying to emulate after Marvel's MCU, which has been extremely successful for the last almost 2 decades, starting with the original Iron Man in, I think, 2008. That is what essentially launched their universe, and they are trying to do the same thing with Superman now, with DC, who is probably, him and Spider-Man and Batman are probably the most popular superheroes of all time. So in my opinion, it's a great idea to start with Superman and sort of build that foundation for the rest of the characters to help them get propped up, like a Guardians of the Galaxy or Peacemaker. There are plenty of side characters in Superman that most people probably aren't familiar with, but I'm hoping we do get to know them in a better way, and that it creates new fans of these characters moving forward. I'm excited to see it. I can't wait to give my thoughts later this week, all of which will be on KTAL News Now, which streams Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. So be sure to check us out every day at 1 p.m. But for now, I'm Anthony Mocklin, and thank you for joining us.